So there's so many different ways that you can decorate cookies.
Well, I'm all about some cookies. You found a way to do that with watercolor icing that kind of blew your mind. Is that right?
Well, this is actually a creation of Katie Craddock, who started her own home bakery, Beautifully Delicious Casey, so that she could play with recipes and involve her whole family. So a watercolor technique, we've never seen this before.
Yeah, so what I've done is decorated cookies, similar to a coloring book without the black outline. The white on white is just something that I much prefer. The palette is actually a cookie as well, so you eat everything when you're done with it.
No waste, that's the kind of cookies and technique I like. So we're gonna get started here. You just dip it in water?
Dip it in water, and you kind of rub it around like you would a watercolor.
Okay.
And then you paint however you want.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting watching it happen. This is a little bit different than other forms of cookie decorating. All the parents out there, we know that you're looking for mess-free.
Yeah, so my 18-month-old niece has been very successful with this technique.
Awesome.
You eat everything when you're done except for that paintbrush, and you toss the rest. So there is literally no mess.
Have you used this for birthday parties?
Yeah, I sell these individually, and you can use them for any event with customized shapes and or just kind of what's coming out of my mind at the moment.
What am I actually using right now to
paint?
It is
gel food coloring that is, I brush on to the stick palette, and then I spray with a luster dust, a glitter, and so when you paint it on, if you choose to let it dry before you eat it, the paint on the cookie actually has sparkles in it.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Because who doesn't want to eat sparkles?
How did you get started baking cookies?
Yeah, so my daughter, as I was preparing for her birthday, a puppy party, I was going to make this adorable, yummy buttercream cake, and she comes to me and says, "Mom, I don't really like cake." So I didn't have much time, and I found these little dog bone cookies, and I thought, well, that's what we're gonna go with. I happen to have a dog bone cookie cutter, so that was our first set. They were not cute, but they tasted pretty good. I do not use a royal icing, which is traditionally what people are using for decorated cookies. Our icing is actually a cookie glaze, very similar to what my grandma used to use on Christmas cookies. I've kind of tweaked my recipe a little bit so I can do almost everything that a royal icing can do, but it is nice and soft, has a little bit of cream cheese in it, and everything is nice and soft when you bite into it. I
obviously picked a simpler pattern. The butterfly is
You're
looking
doing great.
amazing. We want to make sure that you don't carry the water over as you're painting.
In all honesty, there are so many techniques with this. You can blend everything with more water, or you can have a sharper line with less water, just very similar to actual watercolors.
Okay. Well, I think that I want to come to your next party so we can just work on this because it's so fun and relaxing.
Yeah. That's why I started doing it. I kind of had a good time with it.
Well, it's relaxing and delicious. And the best part about the watercolors is the icing, so that if the color runs, you can actually wipe it off and start over. Well, in just a little bit, we're gonna frame up the perfect cookie. Welcome back to Better Kansas City. So most of the time you think about framing artwork, but a framed cookie can be just as beautiful and you can eat it. We head back to Beautifully Delicious Casey to actually see how a picture is really worth 1,000 words. Katie here is going to show us both how to create the frame and how we can draw on the inside. So you actually brought these very fun edible markers.
Yep. Come in almost any color.
Okay.
And that's what we'll use to create the masterpiece. But before we go...
Masterpiece. Yes, set the bar high.
Before we do that, I often put the gold on the frame. So you just use a thicker icing, and oftentimes this will be buttercream for me because I don't like the crunchiness of thick icing, and then just paint with this edible gold that ends up looking really awesome.
Well, and the thing I like about this is I just tried to make a flower. It didn't exactly turn out the way I wanted it, so I'm just gonna make a new one, draw over it.
Yeah, use a darker color and add some detail.
So when did you start painting with gold? And this is actually a more advanced technique?
It is. I had been following some cookiers, and I was racking my brain, how on earth do they get it to look so shiny? What do they put in their icing? Well, the trick is they don't put anything in their icing. You paint every gold accent that you see in my cookies or that look similar to this are actually hand painted on top of what has already been piped on the cookie. And so trick is it's not in the icing, it comes after the icing.
Wow, okay, so how long does it take to hand paint, and what are some tips?
I mix the colors with Everclear, And
Wow, so some strong color there.
it actually is really handy because it dries so fast and it doesn't leave any after effect of taste or smell, but you can move a little bit faster with it and do a lot more techniques. You can use water too, but Everclear seems to be the magic that works for me.
You know, you also had a fun story. You used this for one of your children's birthday parties?
Yeah, so my daughter had a painting party birthday party, and we set everything out on an easel, so each kid, after the pizza, instead of cake, decorated their own little masterpiece. Some ate it, and some were so proud they just took it home.
So mine is just a bunch of flowers.
It's beautiful.
So I feel like this is definitely one that we could eat.
Oh, yes,
Take a bite of.
absolutely.
I was just admiring how great it smells and what's actually in this cookie.
So it is a vanilla bean almond with a cookie glaze. The cookie glaze has cream cheese in it, which keeps it nice and soft to the bite. What do you think?
It's amazing, and now I can say that I took a bite out of a masterpiece.
Beautifully delicious, huh?
It is, it is. Well, the cookie recipe is actually in part from Katie's grandfather. Right now she makes about 12 dozen a week and her husband bakes all of the dough. It's a wonderful vanilla bean almond flavor, and in just a few minutes we'll use simple decorating techniques to make some butterflies. Welcome back. So nothing says spring quite like butterflies, and the cookie decorating world knows that all too well.
I'm mostly interested in how those cookies taste, but okay, the pastels and bright colors kind of make for a great plate, and they look nice, right?
Beautifully Delicious Casey shows us 2 easy decorating techniques to help our cookies spring to life.
Everything starts with an outline, and then you will flood on the inside. You're going to squeeze nice and hard, fill the whole thing up.
So this is wet on wet. You were telling me about that. Why is this great for people who are just starting?
Well, the process is pretty quick because you do everything at the same time, and what's fun about it is that it melts into itself and you get a really nice flat look. That little tool right next to you, if you want to use it to kind of squish and scoot everything around, tiny little circles,
Well,
you're
first
good.
I'm just gonna drop it across the cookie.
You can't mess it up. It will even itself out. Gravity is good.
So just kind of like that?
Yeah. So we're applying everything at the same time so you'll have a nice flat finish. What I have done here, I did the top wings already, and so when the icing comes close to the top wing, it actually creates what looks like a seam, and that technique is called quilting. This is another technique that we use really often in classes.
Okay. So do you have any tips for me right now to give this more of a flat finish?
So you're doing great. One of the things that we do is
Shake it.
we will shake, 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 and everything, like I said, gravity's our friend. Everything will kind of even itself out. So now you get to put some designs on there.
Ooh, wonderful. I'm gonna try to shake it too without getting crumbs all over your table. I'm gonna try some polka dots and see how that looks. So this wet on wet technique is pretty awesome because really you don't have to wait. You can just go for it.
I have very little patience for a lot of things in life, which is why I really love this technique.
When would you use quilting versus wet on wet?
Kind of a signature of my cookies is the texture, and it adds another level of texture to it. For example, in this butterfly, it actually looks like a top wing and a bottom wing versus everything the same level.
Wow, this one turned out so much better. I think because I didn't get the stick involved.
There's usually a way to fix everything. Even if it wasn't your initial plan, we can usually get it looking nice, but I think you're doing great. Your spacing on those dots is fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't even use a ruler for that. Okay, so I think that my wet on wet is probably about done. So the real question is, does it taste good?
I will tell you it does. I definitely think it's worth the bite.
Well, now, of course, Katie does not do all of that work herself. Her 4- and 7-year-old daughters actually get in on the action. They're quality control specialists and packaging assistants. Oh, and she does also pay them for their work.
Your spacing on those dots was very well done. I
It
was
was a
very
beautiful
impressed
cookie.
by it.
Okay.
But it was beautiful. Did it taste good?
It was wonderful.
Okay, there you go.